close to 3,000 IT employees. We had about 10,000 contractors, and we had a budget of about $4 billion annually for IT. So that was a very extensive experience. And after I left that, I started Launchstream and our platform called Scale Up USA. And the goal of this platform really is twofold: to drive business growth and to drive career growth. So we are really doing two things, mainly because both of them are intertwined. And, we have been doing this very successfully, and we were an entirely digital platform even before COVID came. So when COVID came, it didn't impact us at all because we were already operational and digital in nature. And what I wanted to do was, I know Sanjay, Professor Chitnis from a long time back, and we are good friends and we are family friends. And, I was discussing with Sanjay, that we should do something, interesting and innovative for our students. And we have talked about a number of different initiatives that we hope to roll out in the next year or 2 years. I'm going to talk about some of them just briefly here. But part of that is this whole, career club activity. And my hope, this is my vision for this club, is really to start this at DSU, but then take it national and then even international. So that's my hope, that we make it a truly experiential initiative, which helps not only students, but also their parents, because career activity is one where not only the students need to be involved in, but their parents also need to be actively involved in to achieve success here. So I want to sort of get into that space. And we also discussed and said that this club should be really student run and student led. And we can always provide guidance and connections and network and all those kind of things. And so my goal is not only to come and speak here probably once a month on various topics, but also get other US executives and academicians to speak here and to actually start providing you a flavor of what's happening in the US and what's the thinking here and what's the culture here and all those kind of things. Because many times when you're sitting in India, you sort of don't get the full-fledged view of what's happening. Even if you're in many other countries, you don't get. So that's one of the things that I want to do. And my hope is that we actually have this club not only for college students all across India and internationally, but even start looking at high school students and actually encourage them to take the right path. Because if you have to take the right path, you probably need to start in your 9th or 10th or 12th grade and actually get onto the right track. And then you can actually grow into a very successful person later. So my hope is that we target content here all the way from 9th grade to age 30, because by that time you should be well settled in your career. So that's where I sort of want to go. I am going to show you a small site that I've developed for this club from the US side. And I want to also show you the programs that we have there. So if any of you are interested, you can actually look at that. So we're going to do this. And ultimately what I want to do is to actually make sure that you not only keep joining, obviously these events are going to be free. You keep joining, but you grant your friends and family to do that. So with that, what I thought I will do is I will quickly share my screen and just show you, what the club is, in terms of the website at the US end. I'm sure you might have, a site at the DSU end, but I want to just show you where it is and where we're going to start putting a lot of information. So not only can you attend this, but you can actually see what events are coming up and how we are driving this here. So let me just share that screen, take 2 minutes here. So I hope you can actually see what we have here. Is everyone able to see the Scale Up USA screen? I hope you're able to see it. So if you go to scaleupusa.xyz, if you go here, and if you go to programs, if there's programs, right here up front, we have set up the career club. And essentially we had such a club in US. I've just fine-tuned it for a global audience. So we have the career club. It sort of explains what our initiatives are. We obviously have 3 major supporters. We have the AI Co-op Ventures, which we'll either talk today or we'll talk in future. A very exciting initiative that we are having with DSU and others. So you'll see that. We are also having a co-op ventures, co-op as a service program in US, which is again very interesting, might be very worthwhile for students. So we'll talk about that either today again or next time. And of course, DSU, which is really supporting this initiative and trying to make this not only regional, but national, but even global. And so there's a lot of information here. You can go out and check here the various programs that we have here. We're going to go through that quickly in that area. So that's how you get in. You go to Scale Up USA, go to programs, and when you go to programs, you see a whole bunch of programs. But Career Club is a program bundle, which means there are a whole bunch of programs within this program. So I won't delve in this much more. You probably can find this. So with that, let me start off with the topic at hand. And, what I want to talk today is really living in the post-COVID world, and how do you really succeed in the post-COVID world? And the reason is significant changes are happening in the post-COVID world. And if you don't really plan for those changes and plan for your career around that, then you might have a rude shock somewhere along the way. So I want to take a few minutes to actually just talk about some of the changes that we are seeing here in US, sort of go through that. And then I want to sort of talk about, 10 points for success for your career trajectory. So I want to quickly go through those 10 points, and then we'll open it up to, question and answers. So, I get called on, I speak often, and I get called on often to ask, and I get asked, what is changing in the post-COVID world? And according to me, almost everything is changing. And because COVID has been, going on for such a long time, it's been going on almost, for 9 months now, and we expect it to continue for a couple of years more, the changes that are happening are sort of becoming permanent. And so it's going to be difficult to go back to the pre-COVID stage in the entirety. And so what we need to realize is some of these changes might be permanent, and we need to adapt and capitalize on some of these changes and make sure that our success is really fine-tuned for the post-COVID world. So that's something which we need to sort of look at. So what are some of the changes that sort of are happening? The first change that's happening is the level of digitization is expanding. It is just substantially expanding. We always expected digitization to expand, various activities and processes to become digital. But COVID has actually become a catalyst and an accelerator in actually, accelerating this digital events. And what is happening is, most of these digital events that have happened have actually, been favorable to people, which means that once COVID goes away, they probably may not go back to normal. And we're going to talk about some of them in the 10 points that I'm going to discuss later. But let me just briefly discuss some of these kind of things. So when I say digitization is improving and it's accelerating, you can already see some of that. Working remotely is a very mainstream activity now in US. Okay, US is fully operational. It is almost entirely remote. And what's interesting is that the remote work is going as well or better than what it would be if you go into the office, which is very interesting because people were always scared. If you do remote work, will people work? Will people not work? Will they like it? Will they not like it? Now we are seeing that, this whole remote work is not only working, but the employees are liking it, and even the employers are liking it. And if you sort of look at the whole US economy, US businesses, it's all about trying to drive efficiency and effectiveness. And so if they can reduce office space, if they can reduce office furniture, if they can get the price down for that business, the cost down for that business, they're going to do it. And if they can figure out how employees can work successfully from their house, they are going to adapt. And we are already starting to see, this kind of adaptation taking place. So digitization has definitely increased. Remote working has increased. That had a result on number of different things. For example, traffic on US roads is almost minimal. It's interesting because yesterday I was traveling in DC, and normally a route that takes me about 1 hour to get there, I got there in 15 minutes because there's nobody on the traffic area. The parking lots are empty. One of the things that we will see is if remote working takes place, you won't need all the parking that exists in US. You can use that to do something more effective. There are other kinds of activities which are also starting to happen, when digitization has increased. And that is, the office space is now moving into more of an hoteling space. So you get in, you book your room, you work for a couple of hours and go back. That's where it's sort of going. So there are a number of changes happening there. You need to keep track of this whole digitization activity. And one of the major activities that's starting to happen is digitization is impacting business development, marketing, sales. It's affecting e-commerce. All of these kind of things are affecting. In fact, groceries being delivered, all restaurants, all of these kind of things are impacted by digitization. And so you need to start thinking, how can you capitalize on it? So that's the first thing. The second thing that I will tell you is, because of COVID, the US economy is actually going into two different areas. There are people who have always had a lot of money in US, and they have started to make more money. And there have always been people who have not had much money, and they have started to make less money. And so, we talk here of the K-shaped economic curve, which means the people who are doing well do much better. People who are doing badly are doing much more badly. And so what this means to you as students is, you better get into that path of you're doing well and you keep on doing better, because the other path is you do badly and you keep on doing worse. And certainly you don't want that. And then entire industries are changing. There are lots of industries, like the airline industry is really requiring to, rethink its strategy. The cruise industry has to rethink its strategy. The restaurant industry, the taxi industry. There are so many industries which have to completely rethink their model. One of the other things that we have sort of seen is that we are also seeing a lot of artificial intelligence integration into all of this digitization activity that's taking place. And artificial intelligence was already taking route. US is the largest investor in artificial intelligence areas in the world, but it has just accelerated after this whole COVID, because now what is happening is they're trying to figure out how you can bring in AI to do a lot of this stuff which otherwise people did themselves in offices. So we are seeing AI implementation in a lot of different areas. And somewhere, may not be this time, but next session, we will talk about, the co-op ventures activity that, we're launching with Sanjay and DSU shortly. That's going to be a very exciting initiative where we are going to work with students, DSU students and some of the experts here in US and in India, to build the next generation of AI products and services. So that's going to be an interesting, initiative that we are going to launch quite shortly. So watch for that. And then, of course, what's happening is, education is changing. US has some of the best universities in the world. It is the gold standard for education. And many of these universities are very large and they're very well funded. And yet they have had to change their model for coronavirus crisis. And you may or may not know this, US universities, make a lot of money and they spend a lot of money. And not all money comes from just the tuition fees. In fact, a fairly small amount of money comes from tuition fees. A large amount of money comes from the sports activities they do. It comes from, the various business activities the university does, the foundation activity. They do a lot of other activities beyond just the education and tuition. And some of those activities are at a standstill. So they have to also look at, generating a new business model. So what, COVID is doing, it is dramatically increasing digitization, but it is forcing everyone to go out and rethink their models and rethink how they're going to work in this whole activity. Now, here's something that you need to watch for. So, in the last 5-10 years, we have had a lot of this virus kind of activity. We have had the SARS, and now we have had COVID. And some of them might be wondering, why is this active? Why is suddenly all these kind of viruses coming up? When I was young, your age, we didn't really have much of this. We were just free. We would do our own stuff, and we didn't really have any of this COVID or other kinds of viruses. For almost 100 years, we have had nothing. And now we are suddenly having a whole bunch of it. And you need to understand that this has something to do with the climate change and the increase of climate, temperatures all around the world, which is making some of these viruses more potent and allowing them to, sort of transmit globally. That seems to be one of the causes. That's what is being speculated. And so since climate crisis is not under control, we can expect some of these kind of things to keep on happening. And if you see what's happening in California with the wildfires, they've had the worst wildfires, in recorded history. You look at wildfires in Australia, you look at the droughts across Africa, you look at, some of the water conditions in India. There are changes happening because of climate change. So now you start taking climate change, you start looking at its impact on viruses and other climate activities, you will have to adapt. And you will have to adapt significantly to be successful. And I'm hoping that this career club, we're going to talk some of those things. This is not hopefully going to be a career club where, you go out and try to find one major and try to study there. That everybody routinely does stuff. You don't become successful by doing the routine stuff, because there are a billion other students who are doing the same damn thing. You need to do something different. You need to do something more effective and efficient. And that's what we're going to talk about. And we're not going to be able to talk about all of it today. We're going to talk about it, every month a little bit and do all kinds of stuff. And you can do other events. And we're going to grow this club to become highly successful. That's what we are going to do. So let me now, come to, the 10 points that I wanted to talk to you, for a successful career trajectory. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, and then I take questions. So the first point that I want to mention, and these are 10 points about how you really become successful in your career trajectory. That's what I'm talking about. And we'll get some of these points later. We can add other points to it, but let me go through the points that I've listed here. So the first point that I want to talk about is begin with an end in mind. Begin with an end in mind. And I know that a lot of students do not have a very clear and a focused end in mind. Okay. And that end in mind has to be a place where you are highly successful. You can't say your end in mind is something as a mediocre goal, which even if you achieve, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to set up a high standard, and that should be your end in mind. And then you should try and achieve that goal. And we have a program. If you go on to Scale Up USA, there's a program called Career Trajectory that talks about, building the career and how to make sure that you're successful and how do you manage if you're unsuccessful. There's a lot of discussion there. And then we get into, discussions about study abroad and study in USA and how do you really do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today, but we might take a session later on it. But all of that actually comes back to really, having a career trajectory map. And, for that whole activity of, beginning with the end in mind, you must have a career trajectory map. And it's simple to do it. You know where you are, your starting point. You hopefully would know where you're going to end up, so your end point, your destination. And then you put some, pit stops along the way, so that at every year or so, you can check that you're actually on the path to reach the target within the time frame that you have set. This is almost like you're going on a trip. You're going on a trip. You don't go on a trip without having a destination, right? You don't just get into the car and say, I'm going to nowhere. You don't do that. You have a destination. So you have a destination, you have a start point, you might wait along the lines to have food or something. So that's very similar to a career trajectory map. And so what I want you to do at the end of this session is to actually create that career trajectory map and then start discussing it with executives, your family, your friends, academicians, all those kind of people, because that map needs to be perfect and you need to actually manage that map and actually, grow along that map. The second thing that I want to mention to you is always be output driven instead of input driven. Okay. And as I said, we run Career Trajectory. Career Trajectory is a program. If you go out, it actually helps US and global students to get into the best universities in US at an affordable rate. So we have that program. And I often talk to students in that program. And, we have question and answer sessions and we discuss stuff. And they say stuff like, I'm studying for GRE for 3 hours, or I study 4 hours of studies every day. That's not what you want to look at. You want to have your measures which are output driven. So instead of saying I studied for GRE for 3 hours, what you need to be saying is I studied today so that my GRE score improved by 10 points, and you should be able to quantify that. So you should have a results focused, output focused, measurement criteria. And if you have that kind of measurement criteria, if you, instead of saying that I did 4 hours of algebra, if you said, hey, I learned this topic really well and I can solve any problem there, that's what you want to know. You want to be output driven. So start becoming more output driven, because the whole world and the success is entirely based on output. Nobody cares what input you put. Actually, people want you to put less input and get more output. So if you tell somebody you studied for 3 hours and you didn't get a good score in GRE, that's going to reflect badly on you. Instead, if you can figure out a way to not study well, not study at all, and actually still get a GRE score, well, then you have actually used that 3 hours to do something else. And so be output driven. We can discuss a lot about this later on. The third thing that I will tell you is make sure you get quality education. Make sure that you get quality education. And I was discussing this with Sanjay, Professor Chitnis, and I am worried many times about some of the US universities. Hopefully DSU is a great university and you don't need to worry about some of these things, but there are lots of universities, lots of colleges in India and around the world, where you study, you spend 2, 3 years, 4 years, you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time, and at the end of it, all you have is the degree, but you really don't know anything. We know, because we are seeing some of the students come here and struggle even in basic areas. So what I want you to do is I want you to study in a quality educational environment with a goal and with an endpoint in mind, which is output driven activity. That's what you need to do. And one of the things I will tell you, if you get an opportunity to study in US, do study here. There is tremendous amount that you can learn, not only in the studies aspect, but the whole aspect of interacting with the US society. And we'll discuss that sometime in one of the later sessions. The fourth thing that I want to mention in the point is that to win in your career, you have to have a team effort. And the team effort literally needs to be not only you, but your family. Becoming successful in US today or around the globe today is not just an activity of a single student. Their parents need to be fully integrated in that effort. And sometimes, your relatives also may need to be fully integrated. The world is too competitive for you to just try and become successful on your own. I'm just telling you. So I have a son who, just finished his master's, in artificial intelligence. He did his bachelor's in robotics. He's got a great job now in a very good company, very high paying salary. He's got everything there. But we were sitting right behind him, trying to help him every stage of the way. And I want you to start building that relationship with your parents, your faculty, some of the business executives, and actually build that ecosystem where you can win in your success. That's going to be crucial for your success. And one of the ways we are going to be able to do some help here is, as I said, we are starting up this AI co-op ventures, Sanjay and others with DSU. You will see that roll out. We are going to give you opportunities to actually take on interesting projects and build products and services for the US market. So you will see some of those things happen. But it's going to be tough to get into some of those programs because we are going to get the elite of the elite, the smartest of the smart students. There's going to be competition. So start becoming prepared to actually go out and do this. The fifth thing that I will tell you is be prepared for the gig economy. So gone are the days where you're going to join a company and you're going to work for them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That trend in US is at least completely going. The goal here seems to be you get somebody for short term, get the output that you want, and then let that person go. And that person has to go out and find another job, and you find the next person. So for example, in the good old days, if you needed somebody, you hired that person full time, the person worked 40 hours, and then they continued working year after year, potentially for their lifetime. That is almost vanishing now. What's happening is if you need somebody, you figure out exactly how much time you need that person for. You need it for 4 hours. You get that person for 4 hours, get that job done in 4 hours, release that person, find the next person. That's how that whole economy is working. And what that means is, long-term jobs where you take a job and you stay there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, is going to be difficult. And so each time you will have to get a gig, or each time you'll have to get new work. And to get that new work, you will have to be very sharp in your skill sets, because if you drop in your skill set, you will not get the next job. It's not going to be where you sort of take a job and then you're just coasting along, and because you know people, you're just going to hang around there. That is not going to happen in your career. You will need to be a gig economy worker. And so you'll need to have, smart skill sets. You will have to have the drive, the efficiency, the effectiveness to go out and do this. And so you need to start preparing from the gig economy. It starts off with quality education in a quality major. We're going to discuss majors sometime, in the next session somewhere. There's a whole host of issues on how you select majors and how do you really become successful in the job market. We'll discuss that later. Actually, a lot of that discussion actually takes place in the career trajectory program, which is online, which is the one which we sort of help students get into US colleges. So you can actually look at that information there. But part of the thing that I want you to start preparing for is to become prepared for the gig economy. Point number six is that you must learn to sell yourself. You must learn to sell yourself. And I talk with a lot of students here in US and internationally. And as soon as I say, hey, you need to learn to sell, they're like, no, I don't want to get into sales. I don't want to get into marketing. And my point is, if you want to be successful, you better be able to sell yourself and the work that you do. Because if you cannot, you're not going to find the greatest of jobs in the gig economy. Those interviews and all kinds of things are going to be off. They're going to be very sophisticated ways for people to select other people. And you will have to sell yourself. And sell meaning you will have to sell your skill sets, your experience, all those kind of things. And so selling is becoming a core skill set. Okay. And that is the reason why, when we created this whole website for Career Club, the one which I showed you earlier, if you see, it has a number of programs in it. We have the career trajectory program, which talks about getting into the right colleges with the right majors and, US universities and all those kind of financial aid and all those kind of things. We have that there, but we also have a program there for learning how to sell, because that's a crucial activity. And it does not matter. It does not matter whether you are an engineer, art student, or a commerce student, or a lawyer. You need to be able to sell. I'll give you an example. I know lots of very high shot, fancy lawyers. They make $1,000, $2,000 an hour. Okay, very, very costly. And you know why they make that kind of money? They make that kind of money because they can sell their firm well and get large orders for their business. That's why they are making the money. They are not making the money because they are fancy lawyers per se. Their job as lawyers is to go out and get really big contracts for their law firms so that the law firms can execute. So that's the kind of skill set a lawyer needs. If you're an engineer, if you want to be successful in the company, you better be able to sell your designs and development, all of those kind of things, to senior management, to investors, to board of directors. If you cannot sell, then you're finished it, because somebody else is going to take your work and sell. They are going to grow and you're not going to grow. So we'll have a discussion about it. But again, you may want to start on some of the skills. If you are in college, you may want to start taking some of those programs that we have listed on the career club there, because you need this skill set. You need to understand how to deal with them. So that's one more thing that I would say. One of the other things that I will mention is, learn how to write business proposals. Learn how to write business proposals. Because remember, here's a theme here. You are entering a gig economy, which means you will have to hunt and kill and then eat what you have killed. So you go out and find an opportunity, win that opportunity, and then execute on your opportunity, make money, go out and find the next opportunity. I'm talking business or career opportunity, work for a couple of months there. That's how the life is going to be in future. It's already becoming that in US. It's going to come to India shortly if it's not already there. So for that, you need to be able to sell, because if you don't sell, you will not be able to hunt and kill an opportunity. So you need that. And then, to do that, you need to be able to write business proposals. So somebody can be sent a business proposal. They look at it, they talk to you. You should be able to do video conferences. You should be able to speak well on video conferences. You will be required to do all of these things. So writing business proposals and writing winning business proposals is going to be a big, big thing here. And again, it does not matter whether you're an art student. Let's say you're an art student. You're trying to become a journalist. Okay. Gone are the days where, companies are just hiring journalists and they're sort of there on tap. Most of the journalists in US are sort of freelancers. So you need to find an opportunity, do the writing, push your articles, get that kind of job. These are the kind of things that are happening. So you should be able to write a great business proposal, send it to businesses, research the right businesses, get there, and then get the business. And once you get the business, execute it well so that your gig continues. And if it does not, you should have the ability to sell again and write proposals and win more business. That's how that whole economy is going. So that's something which we need to look at. We'll discuss that within this whole career club activity. One of the other things that I want to talk, I'm going to take 2 more minutes and we're going to just finish off this. One of the other things that I want to talk is you need to look at, joining a co-op program. And I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the co-op program. We'll have a full session on it. But essentially, co-op program is a practical training program, which typically is about a year long, which you do when you're a student, where you're working on a high profile project, not some crappy internship kind of project. You're working on something really good, really complex, execute it well. And, you get certification not only from the business that you work, but you get certification from, the university. So it's tested out at both ends. We'll discuss that, but you need to have those kind of co-ops. We are setting up a AI-based co-op program here, which will get launched for global consumption within, the next 6 months or so. So when that is operational, we will bring it to DSU, but that's something that you need to look at. And then, of course, the 9th thing that you want to sort of look at is to start building a career around AI. So you need to have a career which is AI centric. So you need to understand AI. You need to understand how to implement it in the, the end goal that you're going. You need to know enough about it. You need to know if you can actually do some work in AI, whether it's ML, computer vision, NLP, whatever you are trying to get in. Get to know AI. In your time, AI is going to be as common as, word processing. Okay. And so you need to get it now. You need to get ahead of the game. Learn how AI is done, how modeling is done, how data is got, how data is cleaned, how synthetic data is made. Figure these things out. Nobody's going to start teaching these things to you. There's enough material on the internet to go out and do. And then, of course, we are setting up the AI co-op program, which should help you. And then, of course, we are setting up the AI co-op ventures, which is with DSU. Hopefully, we can set that up. So there are a number of things we are doing there, but the ultimate effort needs to be from your end. Get to know AI. If you are, let's say, electrical engineer, you still need to get AI and how it interacts with, electrical engineer. If you're trying to become a biotech person, figure out AI and figure out how medicines can be developed using AI. AI is applicable across the industry. It's a horizontal technology. You better get to know it. And then the last thing, try to see whether you can start a company. Try to start a startup. Try to do it when you are in and around age 30 or even earlier. Because if you want to really become rich, if you want to really have a steady job, if you have your own company, almost nobody can throw you out. And we'll discuss a whole lot about starting a company and doing stuff. And again, the AI Co-op Ventures program will actually help you bring the mindset and prepare you for developing products and developing companies. So that's something which is potentially going to happen. Okay. And that's the last thing that I want to tell you. One more point. I just want to give you a story of Eric Wan. I don't know whether you know who the person is. Probably you do, probably you don't. Eric is the guy who created Zoom. That's the platform that we are using here. Okay. And I got to know Eric almost 8 years back when he had a company about 15, 20-person company. Now I think Zoom is over 3,000 employees, and Eric is a multi-billionaire. When I got to know him, he was just getting started, and he was working day in and day out. And he came from China. He learned his technologies here. He learned how to raise money. He struggled. He managed to get a product out. He got a better product out than almost everyone. And today he's a success story in US. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because just like him, you could be the next billionaire. But it's not going to come easy. There is tremendous competition coming out around the globe. And I see it here in US because the best of the best land up here and they compete like crazy. They compete like crazy. Okay. So you're not going to get this easily. This is not going to happen easily. But if you have the fight in you, you will be successful. What is going to be different this time is if you can actually try and build that career club up, and I'm willing to provide that guidance, and I'm willing to provide the knowledge base and the programs to it, you will have the direction of how to become successful. Becoming successful is not just taking a degree. That's a very small part of it. There are a whole bunch of things that need to happen together for you to become successful. And many times as young folks, you may not know what that is. Many times your parents may not be knowledgeable enough, or your friends may not be knowledgeable enough to do that. But we can create such a system where we can provide knowledge, through these career club activities. And then, of course, we have set up the career club, website here, which we'll sort of build on more and put more stuff there. So make sure to go to that career club, which is there on Scale Up USA. Go to Scale Up USA, go to programs, watch the programs there, join them, start doing stuff. Let's start looking at how we can help you grow. My job is to work with, esteemed professors like, Sanjay and others at your faculty and make sure that you are highly successful. That's what we are going to do. With that, I'm going to stop. We can take 10, 15 minutes and discuss whatever questions you have.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed really helpful to us. The 10 points you gave us were, as tough as it is for me to say the harsh truth that we're going to be facing in the upcoming years. So, and once more, thank you once again. There was really, they really are going to help us, me at least. Okay. You guys can start asking your questions. Please do raise your hands over there and we will unmute you so you can ask your questions.
It'd be good if you can read the questions out.
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Chat.
Yes, Shubhangi has a doubt.
Good evening, sir. So thank you so much. So this was really insightful. And thank you so much. I'm really inspired today because of you. Thank you for that. I just had a small question. What do you think is a better option after our post graduation? Do you think we should go for masters first or take up a job?
So
Yeah,
you have to unmute yourself.
yeah.
Yes. So there's no clear-cut answer to it, but I can tell you what we or what I suggested for my son, and if it's good for my son, I think it should be good for you too. I suggest doing a master's which has inbuilt co-op in it. Okay, so I suggest where you're actually doing that master's program, and as part of that, maybe it's a 2 years master's program, and 1 year of it is a co-op, which is really practical training as part of that, and there's a whole process there. So it's not just taking internship; it's pretty intensive. But that's something which I would sort of suggest. Uh, and I'll tell you why. Because you know the competition in at least in US is tremendous. So just a bachelor's degree doesn't differentiate you enough. So if you actually have a master's, it actually works. But the other point, the more relevant point is, it depends what kind of bachelor's degree you had and what kind of master's you're going for. Okay, because of artificial intelligence coming in, entire industries and entire occupations are going destroyed in US. Okay, so if you actually have the wrong occupation, you're not going to have a job 5 years down the line because of AI. I'll give you an example. If you're going to try and become an accountant, your life is going to be miserable 5 years down the line, because AI will take over accounting in such depth that you could never do this. So if you are, so you need to really look at, when you are selecting your major, you need to look at what's going to be the impact of AI. Is AI going to boost that major, or is AI going to kill that major? That needs to be figured out. You obviously need to know AI a little bit, at least. If you can specialize in AI, that's even better. But I understand AI is difficult. It requires a lot of maths. Not everyone may have that kind of capability, but you can at least have, knowledge and understanding of AI works. And then you can actually at least help do some of the things. You can do data cleansing, you can do data collection, you can do some of the basic things there. So again, to answer your question, it depends on the major that you have. If you have a terrific major, let's say you are doing com science and you're doing artificial intelligence or robotics as a major, in US, companies will be hunting for you. Okay, so you won't need to do anything. Of course, you can always do a master's and improve on your salary and all those kind of things. But if you have got into the wrong major and now you hear what I'm telling and you want to change, your change might come between bachelor's and master's, and you might want to sort of shift there. And it might happen that you have a bachelor's degree, let's say in accounting. Okay, let's say you have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and suddenly now you want to get into a more super growth career like artificial intelligence. So you can't make that jump suddenly. The maths and other requirements may not be available. So you may have to then work for 1 or 2 years, get to know some of the industry, get to know some of those things, and then jump into that. So it depends how you want to do it. But I would suggest that, get a master's somewhere along the way. Do it in India. If you're doing it in India, make sure you get into a good school. Don't do a master's in a crappy school. There are lots of really good schools, and some of them are really crappy schools. So make sure you get that and sort of go ahead. What's the next question there?
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Maz Khan. He's asking, what are your opinions on the future of data science?
Oh, data science is bang in the middle of artificial intelligence, and it's an explosive field. It's an exploding field. And today, the world is locked into a very fierce battle as to who is going to lead the next century. And that next century lead is going to happen with whichever country leads in AI. Okay. And really, the big behemoth here is US. But China is doing a really strong effort. There are really two players in that space who are really doing well. Okay. China, with its bureaucratic processes, are able to streamline everything. And China has something which India doesn't. I mean, US doesn't, which is it can collect data on any of its citizens and start working around them. US, you can't just collect data and start doing stuff. So US has the brain power, the knowledge, the universities, the technology, but can't collect the data. China has the ability to collect that data, so they have some of those advantages there. And, one of the things I was discussing with Sanjay, Professor Chitnis, was, how can we collaborate between US and India, to sort of put a combined front and sort of do really, really well. And that's where I think some of those AI co-op ventures is going to come in. You'll watch that. But data science has a tremendous opportunity. The entire thing. There are lots of levels there, all the way from, data analyst or data cleansing analyst or whatever you want to call, all the way to, senior scientists, senior research scientists in AI. And again, there are lots of specializations. So again, very good opportunity there.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Junaid. He is trying to ask you, what is the scope of digital marketing?
So I personally think, so I have a pretty poor opinion of digital marketers, okay? I'm going to be blunt with you. I run a digital business. Every day, at least 50, 100 people contact me on LinkedIn and other places saying, I'll do your digital marketing. I'll do your digital marketing. Most of them have no clue what the shit they're talking, okay? So it wastes my time and their time, okay? I'm of the opinion that if you're going to start your business or if you're going to have your own career, you better know how you do digital marketing for yourself, okay? It is part of the core repository that you need to have, a core skill set that you need to have to be successful yourself, okay? Because as I said, the future is going to be where you find your own opportunity, you kill it, means you win it, then you execute it on it, and a lot of that is going to happen digitally. So you can't afford to pay somebody a couple of $1,000 a month to go out and do that, okay? There are very few companies who are doing that, and those companies which are doing that, there are very high-end digital marketing people who are available to go out and do that. So if you're getting into digital marketing, first prove yourself that you're good, do something for yourself, set up, a YouTube channel or, one of the most wonderful things you can do now. You have been given a gifted opportunity with Professor Chitnis that there with by starting off this career club. Grow this career club in a global entity. Grow this career club in a global entity. We already have set up a site. We have already set up programs there. Market them. Get more business. Show that you can do something, okay? And what we are doing here with the career club, especially at least my vision, again, we have not had a discussion with some of the students who are leading the career club. We should have that, this week or next week or somewhere. But my vision is to sort of build this career club on the grounds of how clubs are built in US, and ultimately take this club and convert it into a society. Okay, so we have had some discussions about that, with Sanjay on this. And so, when I was small, I was young, I was in college, we didn't have all these opportunities of co-op and co-op ventures and AI and career club. You are being given these opportunities. You need to seize on it. And if there are students who are not in DSU, you go to your university and you figure out how they can contact me or Sanjay so that we can integrate you into this program. This needs to be a nationwide program, okay? If India is going to be successful and India is going to compete with China and it's going to compete globally, it's not going to happen because 10 students did well. It's going to happen because 10 million students did well, okay? So you need to get that number of students and they will come together. They'll create the next generation of products. They'll create the next generation of services. And that's what's going to catapult India, or any other country to become successful. And so, you need to start planning around those lines and digital marketing is going to be one of the skill sets that you're going to need. I'm not sure it's a really large moneymaker otherwise, because there are just too many people in that field.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a similar question from both Kulsum and Satvik. They both are asking us, if we are trying to start a company or a product ourselves, do we need to take experience in a job first, or should we directly start selling the product?
So I have a very simple suggestion for you, okay? And I am going based on how can I make you successful, okay? So I have an endpoint in mind, okay? My end point is, how the hell are you successful? What does success mean? You are, wealthy, you are healthy, and you are wise. You need to have three things to be successful. Okay. You can't be successful with a lot of money and a complete idiot who sort of spoils the whole world. That's not what success means. Okay. So you want to actually be doing good and do some of those things. Okay. So to sort of, be those kind of things, you need to actually, go out and take experience and actually, work on it. And what I'm suggesting, okay, you are going to take experience somewhere and you're going to learn somewhere. But we are trying to create two programs, okay, where you can actually get experience while you're studying. Okay. The first one is AI Co-op Ventures. And I'm not going to discuss too much about it because it's still being planned with DSU and it'll get rolled out shortly. But essentially that program, we are going to work with you to create products, for startups and other things. The ideas will come from us, but we will actually groom you to actually build those products. They are going to be AI enabled products. So we're going to do that. So you have an opportunity. So brush up your AI skill, become really good at that, start doing stuff there. So that might be something which you want to do. The second thing that we are doing is co-op as a service. This is not with DSU. This is completely a US based activity that we are doing. And what we are doing there is we are taking students who are not in AI, because a lot of students are really good in maths and STEM and other things, but they don't take AI and they sort of get onto wrong tracks, maybe even in engineering. So for example, we have a lot of students in career trajectory who came from India, Saudi Arabia, and all those kind of places, and have taken petroleum engineering. Petroleum engineering is a dying field. Okay. So you do this in 5-10 years, I'm not sure what jobs you're going to have. So they need to sort of transplant their skills and go to some other skill sets. So the other skill set that I'm suggesting is something AI related, AI modeling, AI data, whatever heck you want to do. So we are creating this co-op as a service to actually help them do that. So that's the other part. So obviously you're going to need experience. And when you're doing experience, what you need to focus on is output. Don't just go there and do nothing there. Go out and do something so tremendous that the owner is going to say, oh my God, this guy is just a terrific guy. You need to have the work ethic. You need to have the hard work. You need to have the knowledge. You need to have the learning capability. You need to have all of that. Those are the people who are succeeding. I know a lot of billionaires and multimillionaires, okay? People worth 100, 200, 500 million dollars. And there's one thing common with them. They are hardworking. They are sincere. They are, intelligent. They learn a lot. They adapt. These are not guys that are just becoming successful because of some luck. Yes, luck has a factor there, but they are really, I can tell you from my personal experience, these are some of the most brilliant and hardworking people. So if you want to get there, please work hard.
Thank you, sir. I think we can take a couple more questions. One is from Deepak. He's asking whether he should do his master's in India, MTech, or he should go for master's abroad. Is it a compulsion for us to go abroad for masters?
So my answer to you is there are a couple of things dependent. First is you need to do a master's in a major that is a high growth area. Okay. Because if you do masters in the wrong area, and whether it's in US or India or Canada or wherever else, your future is substantially doomed. Okay. And especially if you do it outside or even in India now, the fees are pretty high. I remember when I did my engineering, my yearly fees were 300 rupees. I don't know what they are now, but they're certainly not 300 rupees. Okay. So if you're going to do masters, first thing, make sure that you're selecting the right major. And if you go to career trajectory, there's a whole section on how to select the major, okay, with data and science and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you this, I mean, it pains me. I get a lot of these students, especially from India, okay, and I'm going to blast some of the education consultants in India now, okay. They do paperwork for these students. That's what the guys do, okay. They go to these guys, they pay them 25, 30, $40,000 rupees. These guys go out and find some, university which will accept them. They fill their forms. They potentially write their essays. The students come here. They are paying their way. So they take a loan in India, 180, 90,000, pick a number. They take $100,000 loan. It's a very high interest rate loan. It's like 7, 8, 10, 14, 15% interest loans. They come here. And these students think that the fact that they came to India, to US, they have achieved everything. They're done now. What they don't realize is when they are coming to US, that's where the competition is starting. That's where you're really entering the competition. It's not that you sort of got from India to US. That's a stroke of luck, because almost anyone can get into some US colleges. There are 4,000 US colleges there. Certainly you can get into some college somewhere in some major. Okay, that's not a big thing. The bigger luck factor is, can you get the F1 or J1 visa and come here? So that's a luck factor. And students think that they have done that and they have come here and now they're successful. And what they start realizing, the rude reality, is when they start coming to the end of the program and start searching for jobs, that's where it hits them that, oh my God, I'm nowhere near the competition. Okay. And so what I'm suggesting is that look at that career trajectory program. It's going to talk about some of those things. You have to select the right major. Okay. You have to select the right major. If you don't select the right major, you're not going to find a good job, or you may not even find a job. Then you need to find the right college. Okay. Don't go after some crazy college. Especially don't take advice from some of these paper pusher, education consultants who sit there and find some college and put them in. I am currently advising at least 10 students personally, because they are friends of some of my, they're daughters and sons of some of my friends who have landed up in US and are not finding jobs because of various reasons. Then I'm trying to use my influence to find them jobs. But the problem they created was not now. The problem they created was when they were in India, they went to education consultants, they found them this thing, and each of them have 40, 50, 60, $70,000 in loans. By the time they pay these loans, they would have paid $200,000 back. There is no way they can pay that loan from India. So they have to work here. And they are very stressed out. They are very depressed. This is the situation I'm finding. So I'm like, why the heck are you not planning this earlier? There are programs like Career Trajectory which are walking you through all of these things. Why do you go to an education consultant who writes everything and send you to a crappy college, and you land up, you paid $50,000 of your own money, and then you are depressed for the next 5 years? Why are you doing that? Okay. So what I'm saying is, to me, it doesn't matter whether you study in US or in India. Of course, US, you get a completely different experience than India. So I would suggest somewhere, try and get in US and do some degree here if you can. Okay? But there are lots of Indian colleges which are terrific. Okay? But you need to get into the right college, the right university, and actually have the right major. So if you get into a crappy university in India with a crappy major, it doesn't matter whether you're doing major. You actually should not then do masters, because you'll spend 2 years and spend a lot of money and have nothing in return. Remember, output matters. At the end of it, if you are really knowledgeable, if you can deliver output, then you're going to be successful. If all you have is a degree, nobody cares about a degree. I have a couple of degrees, I have a couple of masters. Okay. Nobody has ever asked me for my master's degree. Nobody ever asked me for, how much marks I got, whether I got distinction. Nobody cared about anything like that. All they were worried was, can this guy execute? Can this guy bring success? Can this guy make money for me? And if you can make money for somebody, you will be gold. And if you cannot make money, you are history.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure that must have cleared the doubts for a lot of us. I'll take up one last question from Shreyas. He's asking how climate change is going to affect businesses and technologies in the coming future. And also, I'd like to ask if it is, according to you, if it is okay to take a break in between in your education or your career for an year or so, or for a few months, to figure out a few things about what you want to do, or you want to learn a few concepts or something, if it's okay to do that.
Yeah, so let me tell you, talk a little bit about climate crisis. It is the greatest challenge that is facing the world. It is such a terrible challenge, and we are already seeing the high impact of it. Uh, you know, that we need to be very serious about it. We are seeing this in US. On our West Coast, there are all these fires taking place. US had some of the best climate in the world, in terms of pollution. Overnight, with those, 10, 15 days of fire, the entire West Coast cities of California and Washington and Oregon had the worst climate in the whole world, okay? Just in 15 days. We had the largest fire. Nobody has ever seen these kind of fires anywhere in the world. We had them, okay? So that's on the West Coast. On the East Coast of US, we are getting hammered with hurricanes, okay? We have had more hurricanes this year than what anybody could predict, okay? Typically at the beginning of the year, the NOAA, the National Oceanographic Administration comes up with names for hurricanes, okay? And they have this like 20 names. And normally you don't run out through the names. As soon as a hurricane comes, you give it a name and Hurricane Bertha, and then you track it, okay? This year, we are not even through the hurricane season and all the names are finished. So now they are calling these hurricanes by Greek letters, alpha, beta. That's how the hurricanes are being called now, okay? We know this is happening. US is comparatively blessed, okay? It's a very large landmass with high, quality of agriculture and good climate and good minerals and, good water supply and all. So US will survive through this, okay? Africa is in a real disastrous position. Africa is in a real disastrous position. India is in a very disastrous position. The water table of India is going down, shrinking down, okay? And something tremendously will have to be done for India. Other parts, Bangladesh and other parts also have kind of issue. If you go country by country, there is a tremendous problem here, okay? And somebody will have to fix it. Somebody will have to fix the climate change. I don't know how you get fixed. Currently, there are no good solutions in mind. We are already seeing the impact of it. So again, in a startup world, that could be a very big opportunity to go out and do. But again, things like going solar, trying to use wind or, sea energy and all those kind of things are going to be very, very important. So it's a very big issue there. What is your next question? You had a second question, second part to it.
I asked if it was okay to take a break in your education while you're figuring things out or learning something new.
What do you mean take a break? What would you do in that break?
We would either take up some course, or if you're just trying to figure out what you want to do next, like let's say if I want to do masters next, but I don't have the right, if I don't know the subject very well, and if I really want to learn a little more, should I take a break or not?
So first and foremost, I'm a blunt guy. I go out and tell as is, okay? I don't think you should call it a break, okay? As soon as you say, I'm going to take a break, to me, the break means you're doing nothing, okay? And the world is too competitive for you to just take a break. It doesn't work. So I'll tell you, I'll give you my example. So, I do a lot of stuff. So I wanted to get the website done for Career Club yesterday, okay? Yesterday was my birthday, so I didn't get time to do anything. So I was sort of, in this COVID crisis, we are doing all stuff here. And so I didn't get time, but I was hell bent on getting that website done. So we finished our party at 1 o'clock. I got up today at 3 o'clock with 2 hours of sleep. From 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock, I built that website. Okay. From 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I actually planned what I was going to speak today. Then I had another 1 hour of sleep and I came back here. Okay. I live on 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. If I get 4 hours of sleep, that's a good day for me. Okay. I don't believe in breaks. Okay. Breaks are for losers. There is, every time you take a break, that tortoise sitting next behind you is going to overtake you. So you are risking a break at your own end. Now, if break means you're going to work 14 hours a day and learn artificial intelligence, then go ahead, do it. If break means you're going to just think and see, what am I going to do? Then you're doomed, okay? So don't take a break as in a break. If you're going to go out and develop a skill set, and again, output driven, it doesn't matter. You can't come out and tell me at the end of 1 year, I spent 3,000 hours learning AI. I don't care. All I care is, do you know AI? You can get it to know by doing 1 minute, or you can spend your rest of the life. You should be perfect at it. So, I'm not one of those guys for a break. Okay. We play hard, you enjoy some time, you need a break for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 7 days. You don't need a 1 year break. You certainly don't need a 1 year break when you are, 18, 20, 24. I can understand you're 75 and you need a 1 year break after, you have worked for like last 60 years. I can understand that. So remember, the competition is tremendous. And in the good old days, India competed with only India and China competed with only China. But because of internet, because of artificial intelligence, because of all of these things, competition has gone global. I see the Korean people, I see the folks from Singapore, I see the people from Japan, I see the people from Taiwan, exceptionally hardworking, exceptionally well-trained, willing to fight it out, come to the US, work like crazy, folks from Israel. Tremendous hard work is happening. Tremendous intelligence is being put there. And so, yes, there are a lot of Indians, from India who have come to the US and have succeeded, but they were the elite of the elite. They were willing to work hard. Okay. What you need to do is you need to go out and check how hard are you working? How much have you learned? How many people have you beaten? What is your skill set that you say? If you go to Professor, Chitnis and say, hey, I know AI, and then you wow him. Okay, you wow him. You say, my God, he's just a great guy. Then you're going to get to work with AI Co-op Ventures. Then you'll get to develop some products. Then some investors are going to see you. Then you're going to be able to build your company. It's not going to happen if you just come and say, hey, I don't know any AI, you just teach me and then I'm going. It doesn't work that way. There are enough things on the internet for you to learn. So go back today, learn hard, play hard and win. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, belated happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I think we should stop the Q&A session now, and yeah, my co-organizer Yashaswini can go on with the word of thanks, please.
Thank you, Aditya. So a very good evening to one and all present here. I'm Yashaswini, one of the lead coordinators of the Career Club. I would take this opportunity to extend my word of thanks on this occasion. So first of all, I would, on behalf of Dayananda Sagar University and the Career Club, I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Nitin Pradhan, for taking his precious time out and providing us with a comprehensive understanding of opportunities and a better outlook on our future career. Sir, indeed, your words have inspired us. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to our executive management of Dayananda Sagar University and our Honorable Dean, Dr. Srinivas, and our respected chairman for Computer Science and Engineering, Dr. Sanjay Chitnis, sir.
Thank you.
We are fortunate enough to be backed by your encouragement and guidance to carry out such important events. I also would like to extend my sincere thanks to our professors, Rupashri, Professor Bhargavi, and Professor Shamant, and also the student coordinators for their enormous synergy when organizing the event. Without whose helping hand, we wouldn't have been able to organize this event. Last but not the least, I'd also like to thank Mr. Imtiaz for providing us this platform to organize this event. And also, I'd like to thank all the students and parents who have showed up to this event and showed their interest in this program. You have all been a great sport, and you have shooted up your questions to sir, and it has all been answered. So also, all the attendees, please know that the certificates of participation will be sent to your respective email addresses. So I'd like to once again thank all of you for making this event very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you, folks. And thank you, Nitin Pradhan, for your time and wonderful guidance for the students. So we hope to work together in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Then see you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day, everybody.
Yeah, have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Thank you so much.